Good evening, Chairman and committee members. My name is Jamie Budnick, and I'm a sociologist finishing my doctorate, and I'm a resident of Providence. I'm here this evening speaking on behalf of Rhode Island Now, which is the Rhode Island chapter of the National Organization for Women. And we're here to speak in opposition of this House Bill 5399. This is a heartbeat bill, so-called heartbeat bill. Attempts to pass bills like these have come up repeatedly and been rejected across the country over the last few years especially. These are extreme right-wing bills premised on unsound or sometimes willfully misread science, as well as the systematic devaluation of women's lives, bodily autonomy, and right to privacy in her relationship with her doctor. In many states, these heartbeat bills have been voted down in committee, in the state house and the state senate. These bills have also been vetoed by governors, and they have been blocked by the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. These bills are unlawful and unpopular. Defending his veto, the governor of Arkansas said, quote, "When I was sworn in as governor, I took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend both the Arkansas Constitution and the Constitution of the United States. I take that oath seriously." A judge on the Circuit Court of Appeals called a similar bill, quote, "clearly invalid and unconstitutional based on the United States Supreme Court precedent in Roe v. Wade." The text of House Bill 5399 states that a fetal heartbeat might be detected as early as 18 days. That's 50% shorter than an average woman's menstrual cycle. However, the vast majority of doctors and scientists believe a fetal heartbeat can be detected only as early as 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but all agree it varies between pregnancies. Early heartbeat detection of this type always requires an otherwise unmedically necessary transvaginal ultrasound, which is a highly invasive procedure. I personally had to undergo this procedure after surgery for an ovarian mass. For those of you who have not experienced it, it involves laying back naked from the waist down with your feet in stirrups, while a technician inserts a probe covered in a thick medical-grade condom into my vagina, pressing against a full bladder to get a clear image. Yes, this procedure was painful to me, but it was medically necessary. Advocates of choice and human rights will say it again and again tonight. It is unethical, morally unconscionable, and unlawful to put the rights of a fetus above those of a pregnant person. Rhode Island Now urges you to reject House Bill 5399. We also urge you to pass House Bill 5343, the Reproductive Health Care Act of Rhode Island. We currently have unconstitutional restrictions on the books, which you've heard tonight, and this act would maintain the principles of Roe v. Wade. That is its purpose, no more, no less. We cannot delay action on this critical bill. Reproductive rights are under attack. We cannot wait and do nothing in this volatile and hostile climate of the Trump administration. With all due respect to the gentleman who spoke earlier in opposition to House Bill 5343, many people are afraid. This isn't just strategic timing. They are afraid now. That's why the hallways were full of people in support of this bill, and why so many of you have been receiving our calls, letters, emails, postcards. There's energy because we are afraid. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but I personally find the use of the loaded term hysteria offensive, and to say a lot. Hysteria has a living history, a recent living history. It comes from the Greek word for uterus, hystera. It was used throughout recent history to pathologize, shame, and dismiss women's physical and emotional complaints. It was women who were called hysterical. This fear is more real for some people than others. I try to be aware of my privilege. If I made the difficult decision to have an abortion today or in the future in a hostile legal climate, I would be able to take time off work. I would be able to fly to another state or even another country to have a safe and legal abortion. Many women can't do that. Poor women, women without sick leave from work. I'm a sociologist, and none of the women enrolled in my research studies on contraception and unintended pregnancy would ever be able to do those things that I could do in a more hostile time. I want to address the issue of regret that came up. I do think it's largely beside the point. We should still have that choice and that right. But to the issue of regret, there is a lot of social science to address this at a population level. A 2016 study in the journal Contraception called Measuring Decisional Uncertainty Among Women Seeking Abortion found the level of uncertainty in abortion decision-making comparable or even lower to that than in other healthcare decisions. This is based on the decisional conflict scale, which is widely used to assess attitudes toward healthcare decision-making. A 2015 study in PLOS ONE, the Interdisciplinary Public Library of Science, called Decision, Rightness, and Emotional Responses to Abortion in the U.S., a longitudinal study, found that 95% of the diverse sample of 670 women did not feel uncertainty or regret about their abortion, either in the short term or over time. Over 3 years, the emotional intensity of the moment decreased and decreased. We're going to hear a lot of personal stories today on all sides. These are meaningful and important. I take those seriously as an individual and as a sociologist. But we need to consider these stories in the aggregate, all of these stories together, to see what is the more commonly shared outcome and how and why there might be variation. In the age where alternative facts is a buzzword, we need to be critical in our understanding of these sort of claims and stories. As a sociologist, we have rigorous standards for methodology and generalizability. People who regret abortions likely find support and healing in community and faith communities. Women with regret choose to go there. In the social science research I'm describing, women are sampled to minimize what's called selection bias. Population-level social science clearly finds women are certain about their decision to seek abortion when asked at the time and later, and they do not regret it. I amended my planning testimony, as you might have noticed, to make note of these social science studies on these issues raised. But I want to repeat my most important part, that it is morally unconscionable to put the rights of a fetus above those of the pregnant person. We have heard testimony from folks today who would seek to do just that. And that is why we are afraid now. This is the time to resist extreme resolutions like House Bill 5399 and to stand up and protect basic human rights in Rhode Island by supporting our Reproductive Health Care Act. Thank you for your time.